and that is the goal. So I'll be sharing my screen. So please let me know if it is not clear. I mean, if you are not seeing my screen, so just quickly notify me. That will be fine. All right. Okay. So let me just go straight to what we have today. We started last week on how we can import data from table using the copy and from. And in case that is for Postgres and MySQL, if you are using those such RDBMS, you use the copy and from, then you will specify the delimiter, you know, just like a reminder. But just before you do that, make sure you take permission, like you right click the data source, take permission, and go to the security settings to enable it so that you'll be able to copy it and you'll be able to make use of such data, such file rather. So that part is quite very important. So if you have, I noticed somebody have a problem on that in the course of the week. So, well, I would just say that please you can go back through the window. I mean, through the videos, recorded videos, but make sure you can also contact me also in case you're having some personal challenges on how you can import or do a similar stuff. Just let me know. So today we'll be looking at the data analytics function and the application also. Now, the data analytics function is actually 5, but because the other 2 we don't normally use it, so we limited it to the 3: the basic arithmetic function, the aggregate function, and the math functions. So we'll be using the international bureau we have been using last week as our table so that we can demonstrate this. So the basic arithmetic function is the simple plus, subtraction, division, and multiplication. So let's look at how that goes. Please let me know if I'm not so audible, just let me know to adjust. So let's first of all have a look of data set we are looking at. That is the International Bureau. So let's run it to see. All right, so we have something like this, you can see. And we have the planned costs, unit price, the quantity, the cost, the profit, the country, the region, the month, and the year. So now, if we are trying to perform, let's say, we want to know the planned costs and we want to know the revenue. Let's say we are to find, there's a task that we are asked to find the revenue. Let me use the right word, calculate. Calculate the revenue. So let's say, and we know we have a knowledge. As a matter of fact, just try to browse about it to know the actual calculation of revenue or stuff like that. So revenue is actually quantity, say quantity times the unit price. So this is the formula. Now, in basic arithmetic function, you can see this might actually miss time. So we want to try something like that, even though the times here has a double meaning. If you are returning, if you want to view everything, star has always been depicted to show all. So also in this case, we can also say, okay, we want to know the brand. Let's say we want to return the brand now. Remember, this is the brand, so it's there. Just mention the column, and now we want to multiply the unit price. So we can just open a bracket and say, okay, unit price times quantity. Now, so this is just like an example, and by the time we run it together, so it's going to multiply it. So it's going to multiply it. Sorry for those messages. So it's going to multiply it to give us the revenue. But another thing I will just show you that there's something called alias. It's just an addition to this thing. So let's just call it revenue. Okay. Sorry for the message flying in. It's from my office, my back-end office. All right, so you can see the revenue has appeared here in the just any name you can give it, it's fine. So you can see unit price times quantity. So if you change this one to plus, it will add them up. You can see it's adding them up. And if you change it to minus, we'll see minus, you'll see plus. So these are just the basic, you can see negative. So this are just the basic basic arithmetic function. It's quite very common. And if you want to divide it, then you press just backslash. So you can see it's giving us some decimal. You can see it's not something hard. So it is just your focus will be on the what's the name? Will be on the header. So and from there, the ones that have number will begin to you'll begin to what's the name? You'll begin to come up with something like sorry, you'll begin to the ones that add numbers, then you can do some calculations on that. So basically, you can see it is very, very easy. So this is just everything. This is for the basic arithmetic function, the addition, the subtraction, the division, the multiplication, and so on and so forth, depending on the task. And this is an example. So if you have to calculate the revenue once again, it actually means quantity. So you make use of this function, basic arithmetic function. So what about the aggregate function? Now, aggregate function is very important. Let's move to it. And you'll be seeing another thing called sum. So what is sum? What is average? What makes it different from this addition, for example? You must have been wondering, what are they doing this sum? Now, the sum is just like, okay, anytime we are using some aggregate function, it means that there's a particular function that groups them. Now, let me show you what I mean. So if the task is, okay, I'm using the same brand, and now say, okay, sum. You can see it has come up. So I now say sum, I open the bracket, then I now want to use one of these. Let's say the unit price now. So what it's going to do is it's going to sum up all the unit price on that row. But the difference here is that this one is just summing up from the along different row. Rather, this is column. Along the column, the sum everything along the column, and it's not an aggregate function. But it's not. I mean, it's an aggregate function rather. Now, the addition is just summing using the row based on what's appearing here. So sum is just like you are trying to sum, like you are adding, yes, but the focus is actually on this. It's all on the same column you have here till you get to your place. So now let's look at what we are going to have. Some RDBMM are very flexible. Now, there's a reason why I'm showing you this. Now, brands. Sorry, let me look at it's underlined. Okay, it's actually talking about this. It's not the brand it's focusing on, because I felt the brand is there. The brands is there. So it's actually talking about the need for us to use an aggregate function. Now, this is there's a reason why I use that. So we can now say, oh, except we are just summing this, and we include, I mean, we exclude this guy, and it will just give us one value, one simple value, and this is it, the total sum of the unit price. If you change this to quantity, and it will also sum all the quantity. But there's something I want us to do, because that is how you can apply it. So let's put back the brands. Now, once we do that, there's something called group by. Now, group by is used for us to enable us to aggregate some functions. So it will group them based with respect to group it with respect to what we want to actually sum. Now let's look at this. Let me show you what I mean. Now let's say we are focusing on this brand, right? Now, trophy, for example, anywhere trophy appears, this is another trophy, it will sum any of these values we are referencing. Like this one, it will sum the quantity. So you'll be picking them and be summing them together. The quantity is 725. Then going down, see another one, 939. Going down, pick another one, 860, and so on. But how to achieve that is to make sure we include the group by below, and just say, okay, group by. You can see it has been bolded to and the color has changed. So we can now say we are grouping it with respect to this brand. Now, once we do this, it will now summarize it. So they will not have to appear multiple times. So you see, now look at it. So all beta mods sum together shows this. All ego lega sum together shows this. Remember, it's an aggregate function. So if we change this one to now average is average, and we run it, it will find the average. You can see for the fact that we are finding the average, decimal place will appear. You get. So also count. If we are to count it, it will count them. You can see the count. It will count the number of time we have this thing appear, the brand appear rather. So you can see beta must appear 149 times. The maximum, there is max. To always find the one with the highest stuff, the highest value on the on each one of them. It will find the maximum. Same thing goes with minimum. The list of them. Sorry, hold on. Just a few seconds. Sorry, I have to get something done. All right, so it will return the minimum value here, then, and so on and so forth. So what this one does is that anytime we want to summarize an entire table, we want to ensure that, okay, we get this aggregate function goes well with the group by, and with the Windows function. We are going to talk about Windows function tomorrow. So let's leave it to this. So this is how it functions. Then this one, it's called math function. So what they do is, especially if you'll be doing some data analytic work more often, you will need to know this math function. It's very important. Now, let me copy. Oh, sorry. I thought I copied. Let me just copy. We are using this. Now, so let's add a view. Now, anytime we want to make something up, ABS, for example, means absolute. Now, if your answer is turning to negative, absolute will change it to positive. And if it is turning to, if your answer is in positive, then it will still leave it to positive. We'll make sure it is absolute. So that is the absolute function. So let's be looking at it one by one. Now, let's say we want to apply one of these functions, maybe the basic arithmetic function. And we now said, okay, our focus is still on brand, comma. Now we want to know the difference. We actually want to know the difference between, let's say, the plant cost and the unit price. So we now said, okay, open a bracket, plant underscore cost minus unit underscore price. Now, maybe we can give it a name and call it, let me just give it a name, something, even though I don't know the thing itself. But let's just give it this. So by the time we run it, now you will see it's showing some negative. But let's say our focus is just to find the difference. Let's say it's a mix of a positive and negative. Then we can now say, hey, we have to apply absolute. So that is ABS. And see it has, the color has changed, it has been bolding. Then let's run it. We see everything will now turn to positive. Even if it is positive, ABS, and we type 100, it's still going to show us 100. Nothing spoiled. You can see. It's just to make sure that it turns everything negative or positive to positive. You can see. So that is ABS and they call it absolute. Now, the other time, moving to the round. Now, let's edit this. Now, the other time we say, okay, we want to find the average of, let's say, profits now. Of the profits. I just hope I get the, maybe S is on the profits, but I just have to be sure. Oh, it's just simple. That's what I'm just saying now. Oh, sorry. I have to use the group by. Yes. And let me call it. Let me just call it average profit made. So let's see. Okay, definitely this doesn't have X. So it will give us values like this. Now let's say we have something like this, and you can see beta malt has all this. We cannot download this thing and present it. It looks kind of awkward. So what can we do? Is to use the core round. Round is just to reduce the decimal place, round it up to 2 decimal place, round it up to 1 decimal place, round it up 3 decimal place, round it up to 75 decimal places. So what we can do is, once we know that, okay, this is what is going to show us, then outside here, we just type round. It will not bold it. We close the bracket. You can see it's not bolding it. Then we just put comma. Now we type in the number we want it to round it up to 2 decimal place, and we close it. By the time we run it again, it will make sure everything is in 2 decimal places. It make it easy. In other words, meaning that we can say select let's say 8, 9, say something point. Let me just type something like this. This is the value, and let's say we want to round it up. Then just say okay, round. You open a bracket, then comma. Let's say if it is just 1 decimal place, so that it will now appear 1 decimal place. Excuse me. You can see it has been approximate to 6. That is to 1 decimal place now. And if we increase this to 5, and see, it will change it to 5 decimal place. So this is what the round is all about. It's very easy. Now let's go to the sale. Now, sale is, I know people will be wondering, what's a sale? What is sale? Now, anytime you are doing some, what's the name? You are trying to do some extraction now. Sale is as good as we are turning everything to an whole number. Now, this is what I mean when it comes to sale. Now, sale, let me just type it out and now use this first example. Select sale. Now, let's say we have something like 8 4 let me use big figure. I will now run it. Now you will see it make it a whole number, 825. It will turn it to an whole number, the whole integer. That's the language. So irrespective of it, it will turn it to whole integer. Even if I change this one to small numbers now, like 111, somebody will say, it can't change, but it will update to the same number. Let me change this one to 7. It will still give us 827. That is how C works. I mean 828. Sorry. It will change it will round it up as long as there is any value here, even if it is 0, like 0.0001. It will turn it to 828 regardless. So that's what the seal, or sometimes the formula sealing, it is called sealing also. But here it is seal. I think in SQL Server, they use sealing. So that's what it does. And it's the opposite of floor. So let me just quickly jump to floor. Now, if you change this one to floor, now what floor does is that it will change it. Let's run it. To the original one, it will not change at all. Even if it is higher, if all these ones are 999, it will remain the same. That is floor. 99999, 827. To all remain the same. You can see. So it is not, it's not going to change. It's just that anytime we want to perform some advanced filtering, this is what we do. It's very, very, very straightforward and it's very direct. It's clear. So 827 is just going to remain the same. Sealing is just to make sure as long as there's any value in front of it, whether it is small or big. So round is, it will do the normal conversion. It will round it up to maybe to 0 or to 1 or anything. But seal and floor, they have their own unique way of rounding up value. It's just for us to the way of performing an advanced an advanced filtering option. So now let's go to power. Why I'm not using this now is because it's just the same approach. In the place of round, you can use seal, and in the place of round, you can also use floor. It all works together. Now let's look at power. Now power also can function as this. This is how it looks like. So you just say, okay, select power. Now, power is just like something raised to power. You understand? So you have to mention what the first number, let's say 5, and 2, and it will give us 25. So it will show us 25. Now, in this place, we can now still apply it as, okay, instead of profit, let's change it to power and say power, sorry, profit, comma, let's say 2. Or don't let me confuse you guys. 3. It's going to give us a big value, of course. Oh, sorry. Wait. Let's take this out first. Okay. Let's see what we are going to have. Oh, sorry. Power is not an aggregate function. Sorry, I need to mention aggregate function is not that actually. So anytime we just want to do that, we are not supposed to use group by. Should take that into cognizance. So it should give us a particular, you can see the large number it gave us. We are not summarizing. It is having impact directly on each number on the row. So aggregate function is to enable us to know, okay, this. So all these ones around seal floor, they works fine with the with this, with the data itself. So it focuses on each one of them, not the aggregate, not the sum. So square root, that is the SQL. If you are to use the SQL, then you can also say, okay, SQL, okay, then let me type it here. Yes, the square root of, let me use SQLT. Oh, remember, this is not it's not case sensitive. So let's use a popular one, 81, to give us 9. And that's it. So you from there you can use it to apply. Let's say you are doing some standard deviation. Let's say you, of course, standard deviation has a formula. I mean, as a direct function here. Of course, let's say you want to do it from your scratch. So you are welcome to use this. So this enables us to get everything we want to get. So you can see the math functions here. They are very powerful. They are all under data analytics function. Now, let's do a part in particular one before we move on to the next thing. We'll be looking at join, because time is not really on our side. So that tomorrow we can use tomorrow to solve problems. Now that we have something like this, now let's just see what we can do. Few things we can do here. Now select. Sorry, let me just create, demarcate it. Select star from international bureaus. All right, so, oh, sorry. All right, so let's say, let's start from the sales rep. These are just the sales ID. Now, by now, I know we should be practicing so hard. And last week I was kind of showing you platform where you can even practice on your phone, on your mobile phone. You can't be maybe going from one place and be carrying your laptop. You can be trying all these things on your phone. W3 School is there. So as a result of that, you can actually, learn one or two things even while you are anywhere. So let's say there's a tag that say, okay, sales rep, because the first one here is sales rep performance. I'm just going straight to sales rep performance, And they will make sure that, okay, what is the sales rep's performance? It's going to be a measure of profit. It can be a measure of profit. They can say, okay, by profit, by our revenue, and so on like that. So if this is the tax, and as a matter of fact, like the message I received now, okay, I'm just saying this, one of our marketing friends, the marketing manager rather, we always work together. We do the same meeting. So they will walk up to me, guy, I need your help. There is a marketing report I need to present to the board. So in most cases, they walk up to me and I was able to delegate things to my team to help out. So they will send information, please help us to analyze it, please. So it's okay, we'll do what we can. Now, one of the tasks, these are the kind of tasks we can get, is always every end of the week. Sales rep performance, let's say by profit or by revenue. If you're asked to do something like this is how you will go about it. Now, we select international bureaus. Is it? Now, our focus now is on these guys, the sales rep. So we just have to type it. So underscore sales rep. Now, because if we run it now, it's only going to show the sales rep. So that's fine. Let me bring everybody back so that we can see it, So our focus here is on sales rep. Then the profit. So this is the profit we are to work with. So we want to compare their profit. So that means we can just say, okay, profit, I will run it together. Now it will be showing each profit they made per sample. I use sample per transaction. You can see Jardine is here. This is another Jardine. First Jardine. So we want to sum everything together. And this is where we are going to use the aggregate function called sum. Except they made mention that, okay, what is their average performance in terms of profits? Then we can use average. So when you say group by, so group by in the sense that we are using the sales rep. So by the time we run it, so you can see these are all the sales rep from 1 to 11. They are just 11. Now that we have something like this, so assuming we have something like this, now, okay, let's give it a new name and call it as, let's call it profits. It doesn't matter. Oh. Now, let's say we have something like this, but it's not well arranged. We don't know it's the first. We can only be saying, oh, it looks like just Jardine. And we'll see another one here, Jones. So there's something we call order by, to sort. I think we talked about it briefly in our first class. So say order by is to arrange them alphabetical order or numerical order. So you can just say by this guy. Now I will explain why we use what's the name? We have to use something like this. Let me show you first. Why we use something like this? Because number one, we are not focusing on profit alone. We are focusing on the sum. So you have to copy everything. Yeah. Then you can see by default it arrange it from the least to the highest. If you don't put anything here, it's the same thing as saying the ascending order. So it keeps increasing as it goes down. And ascending order is the same thing. But the moment we change it to descending order, then the top guy will come up. Then you can see the JJ, they are the one at the above. So as a result of that, you can also get this is fine. You download them from here. But if you are using Postgres 15 and 16, you will see the icon. And if you are using SQL Server, you have to right click here to get and see and download the data. So you can see it's asking me now to rename this. I can call it top 10 sales rep. So by the time I go back to it, let me just see. See. Look at it. And as a matter of fact, I can open it in Excel. So then from there, you can now begin to do some small visualization. If Excel is a preferred place, you can do some stuff. So you can see, you can just okay, go to sorry, and begin to plot graph. Don't let me waste time on this. So you can see it's very straightforward. Very, very straightforward. Now, another thing is on this is that you can use this alias is in the place of sum because they are. So you can just say, okay, profits instead of writing all this wonderful thing. It will give you the same thing as long as you are using the alias. So I hope this part is clear. Now, in terms of revenue, we can edit this. Okay, then let me delete this one. Now, for revenue, so the performance by revenue. Okay, sorry. So this will be we are not the focus is just going to this one is only going to change. And the thing is, first thing, let's clear this up. Remember, I said revenue is unit price times let me just okay. Unit price times quantity. So by default, let me take these guys out first. So let's call this revenue. Now it will show something like this. Everyone's revenue, but on each transaction, you can see Jardine is here, Gear, Jardine has appeared again. So in this case, we will now have to use the what's the name? The sum aggregate and introduce this. Just paste it back. So we are ordering it by this guy. So let me just call it revenue at once instead of profit. So let's look at this and see what it's going to show us. So you can see the revenue. Jones has the highest revenue. Jardine has the highest revenue. Gale has the third. Then Sovino is closely followed, and so on like that. So you can see what we are talking about here. And you download it as usual and present it. So this is how you can actually perform some simple data analytics on your Postgres, on your RDB, on any of your RDBMS. Now, that is for task. That is a task. Then the next one, because you tend to learn more from task. So this is their email. Well, it's fine. Their email is fine. You can always say, okay, if you are asked to include their email, even despite the fact it's not an aggregate function, you can still do that. I think you can do that. Emails. Now, that means Jardine, we have the same email as the same Jardine, things like that. So it's just, sorry, is it emails? Let's see. Yeah, emails. So it's just the same way as we are grouping it with this, we can also include it here too. So it's just going to show us so that any one of them, it can work. And there's another thing. Let's say we are returning. Don't let me get to that part. It might look so awkward. Like if you are trying to make condition. So the condition, you make condition on this function, on any of this aggregate function. It will consider this first. Then if this one is the same, let's say one of this is the same or something like that or different, then to consider this next. The first condition is the second condition. So all these ones is just to let's include this one and we are good. So this is how you can include something, but just make sure that it also appear and the group by. So let's look at it again. Let's look at the next task. Now, okay, we'll talk a lot about brand. Now let's see the operational manager is kind of he wants to present, let's say, the production cost. Let me production, sorry, production cost of each brand, anyone. The production cost of each brand, we want to know, and maybe from there they can make some strategic decision on that. Then we just say, okay, all right. The operational manager walk up to you, or the TPM, they walk up to you, and then ask you, please, our data personnel, please, is there a way we want to know our operational costs, and I'm going somewhere here. So I say, no problem. And they are waiting. So I just say, okay, select. And I type brands, comma. Sorry, hope I'm audible. I don't know if I'm still.
Yes, you're very audible.
Oh, okay, great. No, I've not heard you guys for a while, so I just. All right, so now it says select brand. Now the focus is production cost. Now that is a plant cost. That is actually a production cost. So then you say, okay, you say sum, and we look at it and say, okay, plant cost. Now we call it, let's give it a nickname as production. You must make sure it doesn't have space. Underscore is better. Cost. So from that is from the table itself, national bureaus, and you now say group by. So we are grouping it with respect to this guy, brand. Then order by. just an additional guy ordered by this guy. So we'll be sorting it with respect to this guy. So I just do the copy and paste and descending order. But first, let's look at it and see. So this is, you can see the highest production cost all cumulatively is Budweiser, Castle Light, followed by Castle Light, Eagle, Lega, Trophy, and so on. The multi-lines are the cheapest. Now, but that does not actually answer the question per se. Anytime they ask you what is the production cost of each brand, this is just a summation. We are using average. So average will give us a mean. It will enable us to understand how much each brand costs. This is just the sum. So you can see Budweiser costs 250. Castle Light costs 180 in production cost. Eagle Light 170. Now the reason why this question is more frequent is because, for example, in breweries, in like the breweries now, they have, let's say in Nigeria, they have 3 production sites. Let's say the one in Ibadan, the one in Lagos, Kaduna, and even Enugu. Let's say Amas breweries or something in Enugu. Now, their production costs will varies. So the best way to consolidate all that together is to use the average to know that, okay, this is how much we are spending to produce this. It can be cheaper in Lagos or Ibadan and it's very expensive somewhere else. So this is what it means. Anytime they ask, oh, each brand, each unit brand we are producing, this is what it costs. Gram of cost this. And somebody will now say, okay, can we now compare it? Their question is always on succession. Can we now compare it with the profit? I mean, with the unit price now. So we'll still go on as okay and type another one with the same average unit price. And let's call it and unit price. So now we are grouping it by this. Then it's just perfectly, it's fine. So let's just run it. Now you will see this is the unit price, like the average. If the production cost is 250, then the real sale is actually is 250, with other things. So you can see how you can easily present it for them to understand, oh, okay, we are not losing, but just this trophy, I'm worried, and hero, are they not selling? This kind of, well, you can see the difference. The margin is just 50. So you can, from there, you can do a lot of things, it's always fun. So you can actually attempt this and play around with it. Now let's say, as we are still discussing, because I'm trying to use a story to explain what I'm meant to take you guys. As you are still discussing, one of the let's say the shift bureau are just working, say, okay, can you just look at how we are discussing? Oh guys, how far now? I say, I'm good though. Joe, please, can you look at how much it cost in 2018? And those people will say, oh, good idea. Richard, Shino Alpha. Now, I will say, okay, I'll first of all go back to this and run it. Then I will just scroll down. I'll say, oh, actually there are years, but we don't know the total number of years now. So can we now say distinct now? And say, okay, select distinct. Then I'll just say distinct years. So we are only having 3 years, 2019, 2018 and 17. And that's good. So to do that of 2018, let me just think it back. Now that we have gotten something like this, now I can now say we have done the group by, so we can now go on and say, okay, where yes is equals to. Now I will show you one funny thing. Okay, let me start with this 2018. Now I'm expecting it to give us kind of an error, and it's something most people we gave us. Now good, it's saying it's error. Somebody will say, 2018 is a number, but remember when we import this data set, where is this thing? When we import the year data set, we say we want to make sure it behaves like a character, not numeric. This is it, very character. So we cannot sum it. Assume it's a normal number, it will run. But now we have to put quotes. It's not a number. Don't forget this thing. It's very important. So you just make sure you don't, sorry. Oh, my bad. Sorry. We're supposed to come first before all this. Sorry, my bad. For these ones, we have to make sure the where that is before it performs all this function, because it's execute down. So I was not looking at that. I was focusing on the time. So this is what is going to show us. You can see this is 2018. And as a matter of fact, not every brand appears here. Remember, there were 11. The total brand were 11. But now we are seeing 7. Meaning that maybe along the line, maybe 2019, more brands were being incorporated or some are being stopped. So this is what happened. So the where function will definitely come the next to the from. So this is how you can filter your stuff. If you have to find 2017, you're welcome. Same way. All you just have to do is to edit it, and you can see it's giving us. And as a matter of fact, you will see all these things. It's there. And 2019, what is happening? So this is 2019 also. Okay, it's also showing us this. Now, I think every year they are managing 7 brands. It can now vary across the production year, but they make sure it is still 7. They can say, okay, we are going to rest Star Liga this year because of the performance last year. They're not going to produce it. Or maybe we notice the production, the sorghum, the malted barley are very expensive now. There's a projection on that. So they stop the production, they discontinue it. And maybe last year we noticed we didn't sell more. So we noticed we still have higher volumes. Then we keep it in our store. We have to say this one before we produce next. Material requirement plan. So all these things is very important. So you will see why they will come up to ask you things like this. Oh, help us look at this, help us look at that. And the moment you say, okay, let's take this guy out and we run it, it is actually 7. All the brands will now come out for the entire year. I believe this part is clear. I'm just trying to ship in some little of my experience, in those areas. So just to explain things like this. Now that we have this, I believe we can, I will send this data. I want us to try countries in terms of cost, country versus cost, and the region also. And we can, let me just do something, one last thing. Let's say quarterly. Now we want to check their performance on quota basis. Now, there's a task that came. I said, okay, Mr. Shino, good afternoon. How you doing? Fine. And they mentioned your name. Okay, well done, you guys. You guys are amazing. All right, please, we want to know, we are doing a quarterly performance. We're in 2019, for example, and you documented quarterly performance, 2019. So we want to look at what we have sold. So I now ask, okay, with respect to, is it profit or by just the revenue? No, let's look at we are not solving, we are not looking at our gains now, we are looking at the quantity supply. We now say, oh, okay, by quantity. So get it on. They might ask, can we wait till all day? They don't have any tech, maybe data experience. Let's look at the next 2 hours. It's always good to give them that long edge of time and something you can just do within 5 minutes. And you use the remaining rest to visit Twitter and the likes. So, and you look at it and say, okay, quarterly performance in 2019 by quantity. Okay. So that means our focus now will be on the month. At least this will represent this. So we can now say, okay, select, let's first of all, this is everything from international views. So it's still going to give us this. Now, we can actually say, okay, month. But how are we now going to show that, okay, the month, this January is first quarter? Of course, we should be able to know that. Let me write the note here. January, February is my spelling or my summer, March. These guys are first quarter. Then April, sorry, May, June. Oh, I used dot, sorry. Yeah, second quarter. We call it Q1, Q2. Then July, my birth month, August, and September. Yeah, third quarter. All right. The rest is fourth quarter. Now there's something called because our time is really I don't want to, I in as much I'm doing everything not to rush it, because this weekend is our final class. But learning continues, But I want you also to know that there's something called case and then. Let me type it. Yeah, let me just put it here. Case and then. Sorry, I want to ask a question. Please, I will need just response. I don't know. Now, case, a few guys, you did in your Excel class, your Microsoft Excel class, there's something called if statement. Am I right? So I need somebody to just explain what if and else does, like in Excel. Just short. Okay, I don't want to waste time.
Can I talk?
Yes, please.
Can I talk? Okay.
Yes, sir.
If if statement is a conditional statement that is used to return certain values
God
when
bless.
certain conditions are met.
That's just it. Conditional. That's where I'm going to. Conditional statement. So I don't know. Sometimes all these developers self, why are they now using case? For just tell us if and case and then is the same thing. Nothing has changed. Nothing. Absolutely nothing has changed. It's just this word case and then. Then it's just show us or return this. Now we are now going to apply it in the same way here. It's the same approach. So that's why we said data analytics across different software. The approach, the method are always the same. On Python, it's the same. In Julia, it's the same. In R, it's the same, and so on. So this is it. Let's see. We'll say select. Now, we want it to appear first. We'll now say case. Anywhere you see case, have a picture of if. If. Let me create more space and comment that, okay, we are dealing with case and then. Now, case is if the month. Now, you now say that when, case, when the month is equals to, we can even say where the month is equals to January. Okay, let me start from the, now January is a data within here. That means you have to put it in a quote. January. Show us, sorry. Then, remember, I said then is like show Q1. Now Q1 is just there, but this is what we want. Then let me just copy this one so that we can be iterating it. Control V. Change this to February. Still give us Q1 to March. So that is March, April, May. Sorry. May, June, July, August, September. Yes, October, November, December. That's 3. So now this is March, April, now be Q2. May should be Q2. June should be Q2. You have to be 3. July should be Q3. Oh, sorry. Wait, January. Yeah, Q3, sorry. August, Q3. September, should be Q3. Now, we already know that the rest will now be Q4. You don't need to write it out again. So we just say, okay, else return Q4. And we'll now say end as, because we want to, it's going to appear as another column. I don't forget, you don't cram codes. Use your cheat sheet. Now, end as quota. Then you can now continue what should appear. Now, this will now appear. Then we can now say month. Please remember it as S. Let's look at the question again. In 2019, okay, quarterly performance. Then month by quantity. So just say quantity. Remember, it is what's the name? It is, we have stated select. All this one just come in. So we now said, okay, as usual. So let's have a view of this first before we can move on. Oh, sorry, it has to be quotes. Let me run it and see if it moves to the next one. Of course, it will. Yeah. So we have to put everything in quotes. I don't know why it escaped my mind, because it will appear on the data. Please don't forget this one. Sometimes kind of too fast, I overlook things. Yeah. So this two, yeah. Now let's now run it and see. So it was, you can see anywhere generic comes out, it will indicate, oh, this is Q1. You can see March, April, May by month. Everything is arranged. So yeah, we can now, because our focus is what's the name? Our focus is this year, 2019. So we can now say where. I mean, you can say where year is equals to 2019. Don't forget, he's a character, so just have to put it this way. I'm not done yet. So this is for 2019 right now. Now that we have something like this, normally we could have just said, okay, group by. We are grouping something by with respect to this. But there's something called subquery. Because if we, let me show you the group by to tell you that, oh, it might not be that straightforward. And the reason why we should use subquery group by. And we now, sorry, some, I'm sorry. So group by, let's say, quota. It's not going to run, I know. I'll show you why it's not going to be. So let's just run it. Good. Now you can see it's already telling us that this aggregate function shouldn't have come in place. So you can see the group by, it's telling us the group by is an aggregate function use. So now, because this one is acting as an alias, we now have to use subquery. Subquery is just like you are referencing from the same table. Now, in order to achieve this, let's take away this one. I'm deliberately showing this problem so that we can know what to do from there. Now, what we'll do is that this is a table. We can make this one look as a table. Oh, we can turn this one to a new table on our own. Just like the way we have international bureaus, we can make it behave like that. So what we can do is, what I love to do is to indent them so that I can easily track anytime I'm debugging. So I'm just trying to create, pressing the tab. So I'm bringing them out. All these ones are not necessary. You can still use it anywhere, but I love doing it this way. Now, I will now say from. I want to turn, this one is already table. So I can say, okay, from. Now, from of all these ones, that's it, because this is the table I'm referring to. And close table, you can see from this table. And if I said, okay, select all, sorry, all from this table, let me give it a nickname and call it A, for example. I will explain that too. It's going to give us the same thing, like the same thing. You see? Now, okay, before we go, this is just another alias. We can use, in this one, we just use one single letter. It can be A, it can be W, it can be anything. So it will just appear anytime you are trying to subquery or you are going to make a table, you want to rename it. You can also use something like this. So how? Why we do this is that now it is now assumed that quarter is now a table. It's not part of the table. It's now a column because it was manufactured from here. And you can even see the header as quarter, months, and quantity. So this table is all, this is what is focusing on. Then we can now say, oh, let's do our group by now. And say, okay, we are judging it by quota. It's not by month now. We now say quota. But we need to make sure we specify where it comes from, but we are not using multiple tables, but just develop that bit. Now, anytime you want to reference this, you make sure you use the table name here, A, and put it in the front dot, the column header you are using, you want it to show. So that is for the quota. Then the same thing also, you say sum and A dot quantity. Let's call it quantity, anything. Now we can now apply our group by. We cannot apply our group by. Let me just copy this guy. So now say, okay, group by. Grouping it with respect to this guy. And that's just it. But let's be sure. But that's it actually. So let's now run this simple one here. So you can see it has now been grouped with respect to the quota. This is the quantity supply. Now we can now say, okay, order by the same guy, because A1, A2, A3, A4, I think that's in that order, it makes a lot of sense. Order by this guy. And in ascending order. So you can now see Q1, the supply 65,904. Q2 supply 70,000. Q3 supply 67,000. And Q4, you can see. So, and if it's now saying, what about 2018? You will now edit it here and run the entire thing again. 2018. There is one beautiful thing about this thing. You can see this 2018. One beautiful thing about SQL. So you can do a lot of data analytics work. In fact, it's built for that. These are built for that. And you will see, you're able to write this thing, reuse it multiple times, and build on it. I don't know if I'm making sense, sir. Ama.
Yes, you are.
This I'm doing. I'm just trying to use a real-time problem to explain how you can go about these things. Please, it's very important. You know, don't say, it's very normal to feel like I don't even understand all this. It's very normal. That is how it should even be. But the thing is, by the time you go back, I'll try. I'll bring out a cheat sheet and I'll send it to you. It will be like a guide. And by the time you start trying to put this, you will remember. I'm so certain you will have this video with you. You remember, oh, okay, this is how that dude used this, how he was able to sort it out. So this is it. So it's straightforward. So I felt I should I should focus more on the problem. I'll be focusing more on problem, but I would have loved to start the this thing today. I would have actually love to start the join, but join is another thing. So I'll do join tomorrow. Then we'll focus on problem. So we have a taste of how subquery. This is subquery works. Subquery. Let me show another example of subquery. Let me just show example of subquery so that it will enable us to know, okay, this is what it's actually all about. Subqueries or subquery. Subquery is actually, we have diversity of it, but it's one of the coolest stuff. So let's just run this. Now, subquery. Let's say we are asked to do some stuff. Let me think of a problem. Um, mm, 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 mm. Okay, I'm trying to figure out something I can do. Okay, let's say we're asked to find what is our profit margin. What is our profit margin? And we know that profit margin has a formula is just profit divided by revenue. Now, profit margin measures how much we eventually make from our revenue. You know, revenue is not your actual earning. It's not the one you put in your pocket. Your revenue still consists of tax, there's tax in there. There's operational and production tax also. There are a lot of charges, little charges. Revenue is just, okay, this is the entire money. You remove some loans, maybe you take some loan, and the rest. So we now want to know the percentage of profit from the revenue itself. So that is always profit margin, and that's what is the most important KPI in every industry, profit margin, because they don't joke with it. That's what they will tell. If it now happens to, what's one of the economic implication is that if your revenue is very large and the profit is less, it's telling you, let's say it's less than 50, is to tell you by Oga, you are paying too much tax. I mean, you are paying not only tax, charges. your operational cost is higher. Those are KPIs. They will tell you, okay, your operational cost is higher. Now, I'm not talking of, okay, if we are focusing on gross sales now, okay, gross sales is different. Now, with revenue, let's say we have removed operational costs and charges, and we now notice that our profit margin is low. Okay, if it is possible, leave that vicinity, but still make sure that that market, you don't leave the market, but leave the vicinity. And I think this has always been the order of the day in Nigeria. Now, most people have seen, most organizations have seen that the profit margin is way low, meaning that they are paying unnecessary tax. And from the different production costs, operational costs, like buying diesel, you pay for lights, electricity, and you are not still getting it. It's not commensurating with what you should know. And those people will say, okay, let's move to a close by country that the economy is kind of stable and they welcome investors. They will go there. And getting there, they will still tell you, okay, sorry, we will show some of our market targets actually is still Nigeria. Yes, we are not leaving Nigeria for anything. We're already popular. They already love us. But we'll be producing it here. And of course, we'll be enjoying it. And as a result of that, they will now, by the time they do production, the price, by the time you now get there, the price will now go high because of transportation costs and logistic costs, something like that. Sorry, I'm just trying to explain one of the economic significance of profit margin. Now, we are now asked to, okay, tell us the profit margin now. So you will say how we can apply subquery in the course. Now, let's say, okay, select, this is our normal guy, okay? Now, let me just copy it. So our profit margin, what is our profit margin? Now, okay, let me continue. For each brand, for each brand. Now, our focus now is on brand. I will say, okay, brands. Now, we'll make sure, okay, our profit is there. Then our revenue, which will now be what? Unit price times quantity supplied. That is what it actually means. And we can name it as revenue. So we can run this and see. It's just going to give us the summation or something like this. But of course, you can see on this transaction, when we supply a certain number on this transaction, this is our revenue, but this is our profit. But the truth is, it's not always the same. You can see, it's not always the same. So we need to know the profit margin. Then that means we have generated this. Then we are going to do what's the name? Subquery. So you will turn these guys. This is the theory thing you need. You will make sure you will make it appear as a table. Anything you see from, you know that table is the one that is front of it. So by the time you see this one from, then you know that these guys are acting like a table. Just get it, get that logic. So we want to turn these guys to table. It's very easy. From N so this is our table, just like this small guy is the table, international deal. So now this is the table, this is what we are focusing on. And we can now say, okay, this is subquery because we subquery it. But we need to give it an alias, like a G. Let me just go for a G. So we can now say, okay, select, our focus is on the brand. comma. Now we want to sum each one of them, because that is how we can find our profit margin. Oh, wait, before we even do that, we can actually do it here at once. Oh, no. Don't let me flog it. We can do it everything here by just a unit times price divided by profit. It's all fine. Oh, okay, let's just do it here. It's just one of the things. So okay. Okay, let me leave it. The concept is to show you how you can use subquery. So now this is what we are looking at. You won't even focus on this. You focus on this table, as you are looking at it. We have to find the profit margin. Then we can now say, okay, okay, what's the name? Sum. I'm just trying to build something simple here. Sum. Of profit, and let me call it as profit, and sum again of revenue. So as sorry, how much should revenue? Let me just call it like that. Revenues, it doesn't matter. So I can now say, okay, let me put, don't forget, since we are G is the name of this table now, you can just say, okay, G dot and G dot. So we can now use group by this guy, the G dot brands. So, but let's look at it first. So you can see this is you can see how they appears now. It has been factored together, has been summed. The profit has been summed, the revenue has been summed with respect to each brand. So we can now say, oh, we can now say, all right, but there's still one thing we can do, because remember, this is being manufactured now. We can now subquery this one again. That is just the purpose. We can actually do it other way around, but just need to see how this thing can be achieved. And say that, oh, this is another table, and subquery it again. It's okay. I'll call this one and say from these guys again, close the brackets here. GH, let me just call it H. No, it doesn't matter. So in this place, we will now say, okay, the profit margin will now be select brand. So it's now going to appear JH H brands and comma. So it will be, we'll open a bracket and say, okay, profit, sorry, H dot profit. Not even looking up. Profit divided by H dot revenue. And we call it as profit margin. So let's run it. Let's run with that. So you can see, but for you to have a very consistent value, remember I showed you something in that math function, the round. So let's use round to make it look better. Round in a bracket, and yeah, just put comma. Just in two decimal places, fine. Oh, now let's run it again. Oh, sorry. Now I think it's looking better. Now, once we see something like this, 47%, more of like percent, it doesn't have unit. 47%, wow. 4%, more is just like 40%, sorry, 25%, 60%. Okay, then we are doing well here. The profit margin here, we can now say, okay, let's even order it. Like order by, so that we don't mix things up. So we just say, okay, each branch, sorry, profit margin, ordering by this. So let's start from the highest to the lowest. So you can see this is the highest. Castle Light, 60%. Wow. Followed by Budweiser, this German American drink. So you can see. So you can see how a query works in order for us to understand, to get this profit margin of each brand. Trophy, Hero, wetin dey happen now? Are people they buy am? But the profit margin is telling us otherwise. We are not making enough profit from the entire revenue. The portion, the one we pocket is just 25%. Is it that the tax on it is higher? Or is it that maybe the packaging materials are higher or something? Or production costs or something? So we don't know. So the real thing, this is the actual KPI that measures what we have achieved. So this is actually how subquery works. I know one thing is very certain. I'll try to say some questions, particularly from this data set, to you today, so that we can start working on it. Anyhow you want, just try. I will say those questions then during the week, because even after the class, learning still continues. You can share your opinion, though I might not be so active on Discord, but I'll try my best to be very active in this course, and it's very important. So please, this is how you can actually tell them, and present it. Now, you're not going to show them this, so hope you should know this by now. Anytime you have to analyze this, definitely you know that you have to present, give a report. Present is you have to represent it in a simple chart. People with numbers that communicate a simple bar chart is fine. Download it here, or if then you have your way of connecting to your Power BI, then you can always save this. I can say, okay, let's save this one in a view, but I don't want to complicate what we have learned so far today. So let me just stop it here. They are all technical things that requires practice. Just try it out. So please, I know there will be question. Please, do we have any question before we call it today? So let me stop sharing for now. So please, if you have any question, you can put your hands in the air right now. I would really appreciate that, so that we can, please. Okay, Ifeoma, you have the floor, please. Ifeoma, you have the floor, please.
Yeah, I
Is that
can hear you. Sorry, my mic was muted then.
okay?
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you
Good
very much
afternoon.
for the class. It was very interesting.
Oh, you're
My
welcome.
question is as regards the last part that you just did. I'm sorry if I'll be taking you back because I'm
Oh,
still trying
sure,
to
sure,
catch up
sure.
with the classes. Yeah, so why did you have to put those G dots, H dots? It might be you taught it in your previous class, but I'm sorry, I'm just trying to catch up with it. So if you could just give a brief explanation.
Okay. It's actually an alias. Actually, I said something that anytime you are subquerying like this, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Now, anytime you are subquerying, starting from this, you know, you can see from, and this is a table name. This is a table actually. So, and with time we run this, and we run it to give us a particular information, then we can make it act this, I mean, all this table, this three column table, as act like a table. So for us to achieve that, we need to give it an alias. We call this one G, it can be W, it can be anything, and make sure we reference it anytime we want to do any work on it, because sometimes we can have more than one table in the course. So also here, we also reference this one again as a table, and to give us, sorry, sorry, I didn't capture this guy, and to give us, something like this. So this is for G. So this is another table, and we now have to rename it as H. It's just like we are giving it an alias, rename it. So G, that is for the previous one, H, and it goes on depending on the task. I don't know if you get the point now, Mr. Filmer, Mrs. Filmer.
Yes, yes, I'm getting it now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, any questions? Mr. Delvis Emeka, please, you have the floor.
Okay, good morning, Shino. Thank you very much for your insights. I have three questions actually. Um, the first one, um, when you do the query for this thing for profit margin, what profit margin will you see, and you will raise the red flag, or does it depend on the company?
Yes, it's
Like,
actually, that's the first
mm,
question. Yeah, it
yeah,
depends
that
on the
makes sense.
company. It
Okay.
depends on the company. Let's say a company that they set their target that, okay, oh, at least we must make sure that our profit margin must be over 50. Now,
Okay.
at the end of the day, it's not a fault of maybe the salesperson or our operation that caused it. It might actually be charges. They can refer back to procurement, they can refer back to the business developer and tell them what is going on. Are we paying too much tax? Who is coming to collect this money? I don't know if you get it. Now,
I
they have
guess
done
you.
comparative analysis of a similar complaint, and they are able to tell that, yeah, even after these people pay tax, they are still earning like 60%, like 0.6%. I mean, 0.6 of from the profit margin from the entire revenue. So, what is they will now have to be looking inward into the operational cost, and maybe there is a loan they collect, they are servicing. So, if well, it depends on the company, and they need to. And once it is way lower, as a data analyst, you have to raise a flag, an alarm. And there's something about in this very cool organization. Anytime a data analyst said, sorry, I noticed something, everybody will leave what they are doing. You know, they are the ones they believe that sees all these things. Once they say they notice something and how severe it is, if they say serious, if it is possible, they can stop that production for that moment to hear it.
Okay.
So it depends on the company. So, all right.
Okay. Then the second question.
Okay,
Um,
sir.
Now, what you taught us to write query, you right click on public and go and click on create script.
Yes.
Then okay, there's a video I watched, and the what the person demonstrated in that video. After right clicking on public, the person clicked on query to instead of create script. So I wanted to find out if you still achieve the same result if you use
No, either way should work because the
that's my
tool
second
will make
question.
okay. Now, either way should work, but the tool I think you will able to have option to select objects you'll be working with. You understand?
Okay.
Well, it will able to select, the objects are enclosed within the schema. So that tool will give you option of, okay, I want to use this object, I want to use that object, and the likes. But it's going to work the same way. But once you just create script is just generally all the objects are being used. And I think that is fair. That is better.
O- Okay. Okay.
All right.
Then the last one, uh apart from importing data from CSV and text file, are there other sources of data we can import, let me from the web and other sources into SQL?
Yeah, plenty. Hey, God, plenty. Like when it comes to different data sources, my God. If you are very conversant with your Power BI, you will see lots of data sources you can, data format rather. You know, you have lots of them that's, that you have to, but because of the volume of different data sources, in most cases, it always come with, it's always better. Most data analysts rather stick to the comma separated value because it's easier, it is flexible, it's easy. You can have a million of data sets and it will not require much size. So that is why, like the web now, what I work with at work is usually from the web. So I'll still have to do proper conversion, proper cleaning. The date will look like a date, but it's not actually date. And you need to split it, then join it back again, put the date, this thing. That is where we have been doing that. So that is actually that. So we can get it in different sources, but it always give a problem along the line. But the CSV file has always been the best practice for any data analyst. I don't know if I've answered your question, sir.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. You're welcome. So, okay, um, Mr. Jude Owango. Apologies, I'm not for not for not doing that. So, Mr. Jude Owango, please, you have the floor. Hello, Mr. Jude. Okay, let's move on to.
Hello.
Okay, hello, Mr. Jude. Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Shino. Thanks for the class. It was very, very insightful and it's an eye opener. But I want to ask something. Along the line, I got somehow confused, especially in the aspect of this sub query. So I would like to know, is there any way or any function, as in any other method around this subquery that can actually build this subquery if you don't want to write a long subquery like, because I believe that with time there's some project or there's some assignment you might be given that require you much subqueries. Is there any way we can go around it? Is there any other method again aside from this one you showed us? Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, maybe when you start doing some analytics, For example, let me share my screen and show you what I mean. Okay, for example, what is my now? For example, some people begin to leverage on the views. I was hoping I'm going to explain views tomorrow. It's not something great. How we can create views is just like table. So people will want to do everything to avoid subquery or any form of subquery like you have asked. Now, for example, I'll just quickly do something here. Now, what they do is once we select this, let me just use this for example. Sorry. And we get something like this. They will prefer to say, okay, let me copy this. So they'll prefer to use, let me paste it here. Please, are you following? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Now they'll prefer to create a view. So they'll say create view. And they'll now give this guy name. Let's call it TT. You know, they'll now say as. Now it will drop here. So by the time you alight it, it will tell you query returned successfully. And by the time I refresh this guy, the view will appear, TT. So instead of me typing all this, I will just replace it and say, okay, this guy. Or as a matter of fact, let me change this to TT. And let me just remove what we have there before. So by the time I now run this small one, it's behaving the same way as table. You can see TT. So even if I run it together, it will still give me the same results we got the other time. So instead of me subquerying it, they'll just, okay, we have gotten TT, and they will copy this one again. I don't know if you get it. Although it's a very long and stressful this thing. That's why subquery is way cooler. With view, and let's say what comes after TT, UU, and I'll say Control V. So by the time I run this one again, it will show successful. I will refresh this guy, UU will appear again. Until I now change everything, you know. I now say, okay, this guy, I will now say, okay, UU, I'll just make sure the H dots guys have disappeared. You see? So it will just look like it's a normal query, but you must have created a lot of things from here, but it's a long journey. I hope it's clear. This is the alternative, but it's slower.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
It's clear. Thank you. I can see that
okay.
we cannot avoid subqueries, because there are some video I saw, and the queries was just so long. There was subqueries inside subqueries. At point, I also got confused. That's why I
And
was
to now read it, it can be problem. I know, understand. Sometimes
so
you'll be finding it difficult to read it, and it's I understand where you know most of the time, especially if you now want to what's the name? If you are now trying to pass the same query or send it to somebody, or you are resuming on maybe you're a new person and it's something that you and the team you have to collaborate together. It will be very difficult. But what I used to do is I always read my query from the last where from start. I'll be reading it up. I'll be executing it to understand, okay, this is what they have done. It can take time, but it's very effective. So I don't know if I've answered your question. Please.
Yes, you have. You have. You have.
Okay.
You have. So
Okay.
we're waiting for the exercises to test
All right.
our.
Sure. It will definitely gonna help. Yes, sirs. All right. Okay. Mr. OJ, you have the floor, please. It's almost 12. Mr. OJ, I guess you have answered. Okay, you have spoken. Okay, Mrs. Shakirat Ibrahim, please, you have the floor.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah,
Good
sorry,
morning.
please. I want to ask question. When we are writing our queries, I noticed that
Okay.
when I watch videos, there used to be semicolon at the end of the queries. But I noticed
So,
that we have not been writing semicolons, though it works. But I don't understand why is it that some put semicolon and we are not putting it here. Do you get
okay,
my question, sir?
I
Okay, thank
get
you.
you. I get you. Semicolon is actually as a single function to demarcate, especially when you're having a lot of queries, to enable you to capture that, oh, it is for this particular query. This is where it's a way of telling that this is where it ends. But sometimes, so that you don't mistaken when you are trying to run the entire this thing. So it will be able to tell you that, okay, this query ends here. Put semi-query. It's just like full stop. But sometimes, if you can able to highlight it, let me share my screen. Let's say if you're able to highlight it, like this one, I was able to highlight it like this. You will still do the same thing. But sometimes in the midst of lots of queries, I can just, okay, semicolon, and I'll continue with that one. So I will able to, if I mistakenly now highlight this and and the one below, it will tell me that, okay, the execution ends here. So that, let's say if it is a query that can fit in with the one below, it will not be able to execute it if there is something like this. If there is semicolon there, it will prevent it. But in a situation whereby maybe out of carelessness, I just typed select something. And by the time I mistakenly aligned it together, it gave me some value. Whereas it should have been, this would have prevented it if I use the semicolon. I don't know if you get the point. That's just the very reason why we put in semicolon there.
All right,
It's
thank
Shakira.
you.
I don't know if all right, thank you so much. So, okay,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Shi. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank
It's been a long day. Tomorrow the class continue, and tomorrow is going to be the last day, like we said. Mr. Shino, you can go on. I think you want to say something.
Yes, somebody was raising up his hand, but I think he dropped. So let me
The
just
person that's
go on.
lowered their hand.
Yeah.
So we can come to the end of the class.